The sign's going in. Yes. It's for real, for real. We have had the house on the market for 4 days and we've had 3 showings. We had 2 today. The last one just left. And I'm feeling so nervous and anxious that this house isn't gonna sell. I don't think that's a real concern. It's a good house. But you know when you're like so hopeful and you're so excited for something and there's only one thing in between you and that new thing. We have an open house tomorrow and I'm praying so hard that someone walks into this house and feels like we did when we initially walked into it. Someone come by my house. Oh, I'm so nervous I can hardly even stand it. Our house has been listed for 2 weeks and we have no offers. The town that we're in just doesn't have a lot of real estate traffic. There's not a whole lot to move there for unless you're military, retired, super outdoorsy, and want a big place for not as much money as it would cost you in like Boise area. That kind of limits who's coming out to look at our house. We've had 8 showings. 3 or 4 people have really liked it. 2 of them would need to sell their house first before they could buy our house, and there's just no way in hell that a double contingency could ever work. Today is the 20th and we have until the 27th to have an accepted offer on our house before we lose the new house that we put an offer in on. I'm coming to terms with the fact that we will probably lose the house. It's just not looking very promising. We lost the house today. And I'm really sad about it. I'm mad at this house. It should be selling, but it's not. And there's nothing I can do to make it better. I just have to wait. I'm just so frustrated. These houses were like flying off the market right before we listed, and then it was like someone just slammed the whole market into the ground and nothing's moving. And we took a $30,000 price cut to try and get it to go, and it won't. I'm just so ready to leave. The last couple of years in this house have been so hard, and I just want to start over. Hopefully someone wants to buy it soon, but I don't have a lot of hope right now. Hello from Mountain Home Air Force Base, TLF. Oh gosh, it has been such a wild week getting here. And I will sit down and film more so that I can fill you guys in. But long story short, we did get an offer on our house. It was a cash offer. They wanted a 10-day close. And so I've spent the last... Shh. It's quiet, yeah. I spent the last week getting our house empty and patched and painted and ready to go. Absolutely nothing has gone to plan, but like I said, I'll film more on that in a minute. We are moving into our TLF suite here for the next 2 weeks. Our estimated close date on our new house was pushed out to October 26th, so we don't have a place to stay between the 13th and the 26th. We're moving into TLF today because our air mattress has a hole in it, and I just can't anymore. We were sleeping on an air mattress in our bedroom with nothing else in our house as I am like patching and painting everything, and the hole in the air mattress was kind of the last straw in the poo sandwich that has been this move. So I called TLF and I'm like, can you please let us come earlier? And they were super gracious and put us in this room. If you are not a military family, TLF stands for temporary lodging. So here we are in temporary lodging where there are real beds.
I wake up from the sunshine on my face.
My doorbell just rang.
So dehydrated, don't know what to say.
I have a visitor.
Who's sleeping by my side?
It's the dad.
What did I do last night?
Hello, sir.
Can someone make this headache go away? Yesterday was supposed to be quiet. Being to myself and sit in silence. Until I got a call, my friend showed up at my door. They wanted me to go out for a while. We were dancing in the dark with a view We were dancing in the dark. We were dancing in the dark. Whoa, oh, 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 whoa, oh, 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 whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, 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 whoa, oh, 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 whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh. Every morning after feels the same. I know I only have myself to blame for drinking way too much. I guess I got caught up. Can someone make this headache go away? We were dancing in the dark with a feeling in our eyes. Felt like we had it all. We were dancing in the dark. We were dancing in the dark. We were dancing in the dark with a feeling in our eyes. Felt like we had it all. We were dancing in the dark. We were dancing in the dark. Whoa, oh, 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 whoa, oh, oh, oh.
Hello you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to just film kind of a chatty catch up on life with me. As you can tell, there was a large gap in my posting yet again. Apparently every fall I just like internally implode and need to not internet for a while. This particular fall was a little extra spicy because, as you guys know, if you've seen a few of our last videos, we were in the process of getting our house ready to sell, selling the house, buying a new house, moving to a new city, and so much happened between September, when I went to Coos Bay with my family, and today, which is December 12th. So October and November happened. Let's talk about that. So just a timeline of what's going on. When I filmed Coos Bay, it was mid to late September. We had just listed our house. It had been on the market like 2 weeks, and we really didn't have any bites. We had a couple double contingent offers, meaning we had already put the offer in on this house that we're sitting in right now. We expected our house in Mountain Home to go really, really fast just because the market in Idaho was so quick. Like, we were expecting a 7 to 10 day list and having an offer in those first 2 weeks. And that, as you saw, did not happen. It was super discouraging and a little bit scary because we had put a contingent offer on this house. If you haven't navigated the world of selling one house to move into another, there's kind of two ways you can do it. You can sell your current house, move into an apartment, and then buy a new house and move into that. Or you can do what we did, where we listed our house and made a contingent offer on our new house, meaning that we will buy this house as long as this house sells. And when you do that, there's usually a handful of different obligations that you, as the seller of the old and buyer of the new, need to meet in order to keep the new house. For us, we purchased this house new. It is a new build. No one's lived in it before, and I'll never go back. I love it so much. But the builder gave us 21 days to sell our old house and be in escrow on our old house in order to proceed with buying this new one. And we didn't think that that would be an issue at all because the market was so fast. It literally felt like the minute we listed our house, the market just slammed into a brick wall and nothing happened. We were listed for almost a month on our old house. We extended our contract on this house once. The builder was super gracious in letting us do that. They did not extend it a second time, and that was the end of September. So technically, we did lose this house during the selling of our other house. But shout out to Macy at CBH, which is our homes builder. She was the gal that was talking with our realtor back and forth during this process, and she was the one who unfortunately couldn't formally extend our contract a second time, but just kind of put it off the side of her desk for like a week, meaning we lost the house, but we didn't actually lose the house. So thank God in that week that she so graciously just forgot to terminate our contract, we did end up getting a buyer for our house. It was crazy how that went down. We had a couple of showings back to back. I was not holding my breath. No one had put any offers in besides maybe one couple that was traveling from Washington and hadn't actually seen the house in person. So I was pretty resigned to the fact that we were going to be losing this house for real and likely would have to relist next summer. Kind of out of the blue, my realtor calls and she goes, I had someone call me twice today about your house. And at first they didn't want to see it because they knew we had other showings and another offer came in, but they changed their mind and they want to come see it. They're an all cash offer. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, let me know when and I'll have it all, you know, fancy and clean and ready to go. And so they came over the next day. I think that was a Friday that I got that call. Saturday, they came over to see the house. We had an offer from the Washington couple that hadn't seen the house. They were going to drive down and see it even after they put the offer in on it, just because that's how the market had been going and they hadn't gotten the memo that it wasn't moving. Anyway, so we had that offer on the table. It was a really crappy offer. It was under asking. They were asking us to cover a bunch of extra fees and things. And it had a weird contingency about what they could qualify for financially, which doesn't seem like it should have been our problem. So it wasn't a great offer. We weren't super hopeful on it, but it was the only offer that we got prior to this couple coming in. So they came in on a Saturday. They spoke with our realtor, asked about the offer from the Washington couple, and the Washington offer had a deadline for response on it by the end of business that day. They wanted like a 24-hour turnaround on if we were going to deny it or accept the offer. So Michaela let them know, like, we have to tell this other couple yes or no by the end of the day. So let me know, like, what you guys decide to do, go and talk about it, and then we can work out the details if it works out. They got in touch with another local realtor because they didn't have a realtor even when they walked in. Our realtor showed the house for us to them. That's how kind of spur of the moment it was. They didn't even have representation. So they found another realtor to help them write the offer. And they offered us full price cash offer with a 10-day close. So long story short, we did end up accepting the cash offer, obviously. And at that time, Danny had to do a week-long base exercise. So he was gone like 14 to 16 hours a day for a whole week. That happened to be the whole week from accepting the offer to moving out of the house. So I was doing that probably 85% by myself. He did come home and help like after work and things, but he was exhausted and it was just like one of those just push through and there's no limit to how much sugar and caffeine you're allowed to have this week. We got the house packed up. It was quite the experience. If you guys are on Instagram or TikTok, there's that sound that's like, am I the drama? I don't feel like I'm the drama. Am I the drama? That was my theme song for that week, because every time I turned around, something wasn't working out or was weird and you had to pivot to plan B, C, D, and E. For instance, because our move was on such short notice, I couldn't find moving companies to help move us out. I had originally planned on packing the house myself and then having a moving company come in, put it on a truck, and drive it to our new house, because originally we thought we were going to be closing on the old house and the new house around the same time so we could just kind of move from one to the other. That clearly didn't happen. We closed on our old house October 13th, and we were not able to move into this new house until October 22nd, which happens to be my birthday. So it felt a little bit like, oh, it's meant to be. However, we needed to be out of the house at least a day or so before closing so I could make sure it was clean and ready for the next couple to move in. I called probably 10 different moving companies to see if I could get anyone in there a couple days before closing to help get things moved out. The only time I could get movers in was 5 days before closing, that Friday. And just to keep this timeline in your head, we showed the house, accepted the offer on Saturday. The new buyer, the husband, has real estate experience, so he waived inspection to do his own inspection. He did that on Sunday. And by Friday, 6 days later, was the only time I could get movers to help me get this house put into a truck. Caveat number 2, I couldn't get a moving truck to save my life. The problem that we were facing was that I didn't just need a moving truck, I needed a moving truck with a company that had a storage facility to keep all of our stuff for at least a week, and then another moving truck to get it to our new house, and no one was available. Everyone was booked out until the end of October. So Plan C, we got pods. So we ended up getting two 16-foot pods and one 8-foot pod. And the moving company that was able to help me, 2 men in a truck, they were lovely. 2 college guys, probably from Boise State, working on the weekends, moved all of the stuff that I had packed that week into these pods. There was a couple boxes that I needed to pack still, but they got probably 80% of our house wrapped in a pod, Tetris in there like no other. They saved my butt. So thank you to you two if you're out there watching this video. Truly. The pods got picked up. In the meantime, you're probably wondering where you're gonna live because you're out of your old house. All of your stuff's in a pod. You have nowhere to live. You're supposed to be out of this house by Wednesday, the 13th. So it's now Friday with no bed. What's your plan? So we got an air mattress. So I thought that it would be wise to continue to stay at the house, just get an air mattress, put that on the floor for a few days. It's only a few days, doesn't matter. Like, it's gonna be fine. Until the cat popped the air mattress. So the first night that we did the air mattress thing, I'm guessing the cat must have jumped on it and put a little hole in it with its claws because I woke up on the hard laminate floor and the mattress would not reinflate. So there was no bed. So the movers come move everything out Friday into pods. Friday night, our air mattress pops. Saturday, I wake up on the floor and I'm crispy, like crispy done. I have no more grace or energy or patience left in me. I called TLF on the Air Force Base, which stands for Temporary Lodging Facility. It's a military hotel, essentially, like a long-term extended stay hotel, and it's built for people moving on and off base as they're in between base housing or in between different stations. They were gracious enough to let us stay in TLF for the time that we were between our houses because we are active duty military family, therefore they could fit us in there and they had availability. So instead of moving into TLF on Tuesday, we moved in on a Saturday. Extra $400 in lodging to pay because you're an extra like 3 or 4 nights, but you gotta have a bed. So we took the cats, took Charlie, took the stuff that we were gonna need for the next probably 10 days and moved into TLF. Danny is still on base exercise, so it's still just me moving this stuff to and from. He's literally gonna get off work and come to the hotel. Like he's not even gonna go home again, and it's just gonna be me going back and forth doing the cleaning and the last bits of packing and yada blah, etc. We get moved in, get the house cleaned, get everything put in the pods get picked up the following Monday. I clean all day Tuesday. We hand over the keys on Wednesday. It was super bittersweet. I mean, that was the first house that we'd ever purchased. It felt so far out of the realm of possibility for us when we moved to Idaho that we would buy a house. We had quite a bit of debt just from setting up our lives together, and putting your first home together is expensive. And so we didn't think we'd even qualify for a mortgage, let alone be able to buy a house. And we did. And that house, because of how the market was doing, ended up almost doubling in value. So we walked away with quite a bit of equity, which let us move into this house. So while all that is happening with the closing of the old house, we still have this new house in contract that we're just hoping and praying we get to keep. Once again, another shout out to Macy and Michaela for kind of working that behind the scenes and letting things just kind of work themselves out on the old sale so we can get to the new one. We closed on this house and got the keys on Friday, October 22nd, which once again is my birthday. So I got a house for my birthday. I don't think that'll ever happen again, but pretty cool experience. So while all this is happening with moving out and moving in and closing and all of that, one of my best friends, Audrey, is also moving up to Idaho. She moves October 20th, which happens to be the Wednesday before we close. So everyone's kind of in transition between houses at the same time. My mom and her partner, Roy, had helped Audrey move from California, where my mom lives, up to Idaho. And that meant that Mom and Roy were up here and could celebrate my birthday with me and help us move in. And so we all got together and had a big dinner together out. It was so nice. Just a couple of friends and us, just all at one table, all at the same time. Just felt like such a treat. That was Friday. Our pods got delivered Saturday, and we did find a moving company to help us move the stuff back out of the pods into the house. So that was a huge blessing. Monday the 25th rolls around and Danny calls me in the morning. He goes, I left work sick. I've got a fever. My head is killing me. I'm going to go lay down. And he comes home and goes, I really don't feel well. I'm going to bed. Has migraine, just feels horrible. And I'm like, oh God, please no. Tuesday, I start feeling kind of crappy too. And not so much as bad as he did, but just kind of like I was under the weather. I kind of felt fatiguey and blah. And I'm like, please be a cold, please be a cold. Because I had family in town. I wanted to see them and spend time with them. And it spoiler alert, it was not a cold. It was our dear, sweet friend, Rona, who finally made her appearance in my life 2 years into this pandemic. 4 days of living in our new house. There are boxes everywhere. We pretty much just have our beds put together and some dishes put away. Me, Danny, and Charlie all have COVID. Danny was mostly through it, like through the really hard migraine and fatigue and body aches in about 5 days. About the time that he started to feel better is when I took a nosedive. I was sick for about 2 weeks straight, probably the sickest I've ever been in my entire life. The body aches were so bad that it threw my back into the most unbearably painful muscle spasms. It felt like I was in back labor with a baby. And the only thing that helped were muscle relaxers. And even then, the pills are only supposed to be taken like every 8 hours. And about the 6-hour mark, I was in agony. They would wear off that fast. I ended up going to urgent care 3 times between me and Charlie. Charlie ended up with a double ear infection. Danny ended up with a double ear infection and strep on top of COVID. And I ended up with a single ear infection and just COVID, which is plenty. I did end up having to go to the ER the next week because I couldn't breathe. I am one of those people that tends to get a little asthmatic when they get sick. So even the usual cold that everyone gets every fall and winter usually turns into bronchitis for me. So I was pretty nervous about COVID becoming worse for me than just a bronchitis pneumonia situation. So I did end up going to the ER about a week into being sick, probably day 8 or 9. And they got me in super fast. I was super nervous to go to the ER, honestly, because you hear all of these horror stories about people that go to the ER and like walk in and they never walk out. And I was praying my guts out that that wasn't going to be me. I was seen super quickly. I was a little nervous about that too, because Idaho is in a critical care standard right now, meaning that there's so much sickness and need for medical care that the system's pretty overextended. So there's long wait times, and you might not be able to be seen in the manner that you might need to be seen as quickly as you should because there's just not enough people and stuff. So I was expecting to wait around for a little while. They got me in and into a bed within 5 minutes. They were so gracious. Admitting gal at the front desk of the ER took one look at me and grabbed a wheelchair because I was having a hard time even standing. I could barely catch my breath enough to stand still. And even doing that was hyperventilating and making me so dizzy. So they got me in a chair, they got me in a bed, they got me hooked up to an IV with fluids. The fluids helped me so much. I think a big part of what I was experiencing was I was so dehydrated that everything was just that much harder. I was trying to drink water and drink electrolytes, but I was having a really hard time doing that. Nausea really hit me hard with COVID. It felt like I had the stomach flu on top of the respiratory issues. And so I ended up losing 20 pounds in 2 weeks just because I couldn't keep anything down. Like even the spit in my mouth would make me throw up. And then I can barely breathe as it is. So then you're throwing up and you're trying to catch your breath and that makes you throw up some more. And it just was this vicious cycle of just wearing you down. So anyway, they got me hooked up to IV fluids. They took a chest x-ray. They did a contrast CT because they were worried about a possible embolism. Everything checked out fine. I literally had a chest x-ray, contrast CT, EKG, and fluids started within 45 minutes of me walking in the door of the ER. So they took such excellent prompt care of me and they were so kind. I was so grateful for everything that they did to help me, and I felt a good 35-40% better when I walked out of the ER 4 or 5 hours later, mostly because of the fluids that they were able to run. When I came into the ER, my oxygenation was about 89% and my heart rate was between 130 and 145 resting. And I walked out at 97% oxygenation and like a 90 to 100 resting heart rate. So I felt a lot better. But you can imagine with those stats how just like running on empty I felt here. I went home. I was probably pretty sick for another 3 or 4 days after that. One thing that really helped was a handheld steamer. So they make these portable steamers. They're about yay big and they have a mask on the top, and you put saline or distilled water into them and they produce steam, and you can put the mask over your face so that you can inhale the steam, and it really helps break up all of the mucus and the of being sick and helps you open up your lungs a little bit more. So I did get one of those. That was a game changer in helping me feel better. I did lose my taste and smell. I haven't had it since October 27th. I still don't have it. I have maybe 15-20% taste and smell, and it is December 12th. Here's hoping I get to taste things for Christmas, because that would be an excellent present. But here's just a quick recap of where we are. No offers on the house, get an offer on the house, 10-day close on the house, move into TLF, close on our new house, get COVID, out with COVID for 2 weeks. So by the time that I was able to be up and doing more was probably mid-November. It took me quite a few days to get my breath back. And I still have kind of a lingering cough, but I always get a cough this time of year anyway, so I don't really pay much attention to it. But for a good 4 or 5 days after my last fever day, after my last day with real like COVID symptoms apart from the taste and smell issue, it took me about 5 days to be able to climb my stairs in one shot before I'd have to go step, 3 at a time, and then wait probably 10-20 seconds to catch my breath, and then kind of keep working my way up the stairs that way. It took me a really long time to kind of get back to being able to walk up and down the stairs normally, for instance. I had to shower sitting down for quite a few days. I had like super bad muscle fatigue for a while too, so even things like holding a pen for too long would make my entire hand and arm cramp up. It was the most bizarre thing that I think I've ever gone through health-wise, apart from having Charlie, because that was a whole cluster in itself. But apart from still not being able to taste anything, I feel much better now. We did not celebrate Thanksgiving with family. We just had Audrey over because her family is also in California. So it was just the 3 of us, me, Danny, and Audrey, for Thanksgiving, and it was lovely. It just would have been too much to try and host a dinner and everything that soon after moving and after being sick. So it was just a really great low-key day. We are hosting my family for Christmas. My mom and Roy and my brother and his girlfriend are coming out, but I wanted to kind of give you guys an update as to where I've been the last couple months and why I have not had YouTube at the top of the priority list. It's been quite the experience. I'm happy to say we're out of it and into a new chapter here at this new house, and it's wonderful. I'm so glad we're here. But I just wanted to fill you guys in. With that being said, wash your hands, recycle your moving boxes, like, subscribe, and do the things, and I will see you in the next one.